Hi, everyone, and welcome inside the Citrus TV studios with Ben Peck and Darius Joshua. I'm John Nolan as we preview Syracuse basketball and San Diego State from a boat. We're here inside what was the Citrus TV election headquarters earlier in the week, now for something that unites everyone. It's Syracuse basketball season.
Definitely have to be looking forward to it, especially with the team coming back. It's not going to be, you're definitely losing four key guys from last year, but still a lot of talent on
Yeah,
this
it's
team.
definitely exciting when the football team's not looking too good. Give something the fans to look forward to.
And the threat of rain in the forecast delayed this contest from Friday to Sunday, but you can't hold us up for the tip-off. Just as Nate Silver predicted, Syracuse easily went 2-0 in its exhibition games against Pace and Bloomsburg. Well, maybe that wasn't him. But was there anything to even gain from these tune-ups? Some fans may not think so. Coach Boeheim, though, he says mission accomplished.
Well, I think we've accomplished everything we could at this stage. I think they've worked hard. I think they're, as prepared as they can be at this stage. And, it's still early. We got a lot to learn, but it's a process. It takes time.
And a process that really gets going on Sunday when the Cuse takes on the Aztecs of San Diego State out on the West Coast, or actually just off the West Coast on the U.S.S. Midway. Talk about a unique experience.
Exactly. I don't know anybody personally that played on an aircraft carrier. I'm sure they just started doing these games, and we're definitely excited, as a university to be able to represent Syracuse, especially our team able to represent Syracuse over there in California. So we all excited. It's our first game of the season, so we're already going to be excited. But playing on an aircraft carrier is definitely awesome.
But it's unlikely that Trish and number 9 SU can just sail past San Diego State on the Midway. Coached by Steve Fisher, he's the guy who led that Michigan Fab 5 team back in the day. The Aztecs enter the year at number 20.
It's going to be really tough. I mean, the two teams that we play were pretty good teams, but they're not like a San Diego State. So, to come out and play them on our first game, it's going to be tough, but it's going to be a good battle for us.
So as we bring back Ben and Darius, now Trevor Cooney says it's going to be a tough game on Sunday. Can you tell us why?
It is going to be a tough game. San Diego State's always been playing tough, especially since Kawhi Leonard, since his days on the team. But they've got 3 returning starters this year. One in Jamal Franklin, the guy I'm going to key on here, junior guard for the San Diego State Aztecs. And he led the league in scoring last year in the Mountain West, and he can do it all. He's top 5 in rebounding. He was top 5 in free throw percentage, top 10 in field goal percentage. He can slash to the basket. That's where he really excels at his game. And I think that Syracuse is going to need to keep him out of that paint and get from getting rebounds so that they can take control of the game.
Definitely a lot of guards in this team to watch out for, but not too much pressure in the front court. The bigs should have a big day, but like you mentioned, Darius, plenty of talent to go around in the backcourt.
And not only the talent on the roster for San Diego State, but the coaching staff, too.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Steve Fisher, coach of the then Fab 5, also won a national championship at Michigan after coming in just for the NCAA tournament. Nice little deal there, but just to show what he's done with this program, the first year he was there had just 5 wins, and ever since then they've gotten 20-plus wins the past 5 years. He's really, really turned that program around. And how he does it is just finding talent that not a lot of other people are going after. You look back at the Fab 5, that's one nice example. But even, you mentioned Kawhi Leonard, and a lot of transfers on this team that may not have gotten a lot of attention otherwise.
Yeah, he's got a lot of transfers this year on the team. The most recent one, J.J. O'Brien, basically their forward center position. He came from Utah last season. So Fisher's been able to get a lot of good talent coming from the Mountain West Conference and to be able to have a lot of success at San Diego.
And while the Aztecs may have talent and pose a threat to Syracuse, so you can't forget about all the talent the Orange have. You may lose Dion Waiters to the NBA. Fab Melo, Scoop Jardine's gone, Chris Joseph is gone, but there are guys who have been waiting in the wings like a James Sutherland, and now is their time.
Sutherland literally waiting in the wings. But
Long-armed wings.
Yeah, I know. He plays that zone excellently. But James Sutherland, arguably the most athletic player on the team. He can shoot, he can rebound, and like I mentioned, he can play good defense, but he hasn't really ever been able to excel in those areas. Definitely looking for him his senior year to have a big year.
And Ben, you mentioned that one senior, but I'm going to go to the other senior on the squad, Brandon Trish, the cover boy of Sports Illustrated. He's going to be key for this team. Usually he was the third leading scorer last year behind Chris Joseph and Dion Waiters, but this year he will be the leader of this team. Had 34 points in the first 2 exhibition games. The only thing that worries me is the 8 turnovers. Once he gets those down, I think he'll be able to run for the Big East Player of the Year.
And one guy who may be able to help Brandon Trish out in the backcourt, someone fans didn't get to see last year because he redshirted, Trevor Cooney.
Yeah, Trevor Cooney, obviously a lot of people know him as a pure shooter, but he actually can shoot it from pretty much anywhere on the court. He actually has a nice little fadeaway jump shot off the post. So, I mean, he's kind of an interesting player, but like you said, haven't been able to see him in action. He's had a year to learn the defense. It'll be interesting to see how he adjusts in his first year actually on the court.
Yeah, that's another guard there. And I'm going to go to a big man now. Got to show the bigs some love. Mr. Rakeem Christmas. He had what I'm going to call the Fab Mello treatment, where he was able to put the starting role on the stat sheet, but didn't really get the minutes. But this year he's going to come in. He's bulked up, added about 20 pounds to his game. He's going to be big down there in the paint, getting rebounds and blocking shots for the Orange.
Well, Rakeem Christmas will be in the paint. Why don't we go into the paint right now, play a little bit of 3 in the key. Of course, you can't do that in a real game, but we're making up our own rules here to break down this San Diego State-Syracuse matchup. And let's take a more in-depth look at something that's always interesting when you play against Jim Boeheim's 2-3 zone. That zone against the perimeter players for San Diego State.
I'm going to have to go with the perimeter players because, like I said earlier, it's going to take some time for that zone to develop. You have a lot of new people stepping into a lot of new roles for the defense. I think that's going to be the overriding factor. And then, as we mentioned earlier, they have such good depth at that position. So they're going to have to rely on it, and Syracuse is going to have to work out the kinks.
You know, San Diego State isn't a lights-out shooting team, so I'm going to have to go with the zone here. You got 6 of the 8 main guys on this team that are over 6'6". You can't go against that kind of length in the zone. The Syracuse team always loves to cause turnovers, get in the fast break, and really that's where they excel at their game, and I think they'll be able to do that as well in this game.
A lot of length all over the court for this Syracuse team at the top of the zone and certainly down low, too. We mentioned Rakeem Christmas. How about a guy like Dajuan Coleman, the freshman from nearby Jamesville DeWitt High School, and he really bolsters the front line for Syracuse. Who do you like in the matchup between the Orange's bigs and the Aztecs?
Well, for the same reason I picked the zone, I'm going to have to pick the bigs here. They got much more size down low. J.J. O'Brien's only 6'7", I think 225, while Rakeem Christmas is at 6'9", and Dajuan Coleman himself is also at 6'8", 6'9", at 288. That's a big body down low, getting rebounds, bumping in with those big guys down low in the paint. And Rakeem Christmas, as I said, added some weight as well and added some strength to his game, and I think that'll be able to give the Orange a lot of control of the paint and down low area.
You mentioned all the height on this team. That is the strength of this squad. The front court is just so incredible, so tall. You got your point guard at 6'5", but it's ridiculous how much depth they have. Dajuan Coleman also might add that he moves very well for his size.
And speaking of depth, I don't think we've even mentioned arguably the 2 best players on Syracuse this year, and Michael Carter-Williams as well as C.J. Fair. So that speaks to the fact there are 9 guys who Coach Boeheim says he is going to play in his rotation this year, a little bit more than a typical Jim Boeheim bench. How does San Diego State's depth compare to the Oranges?
I'm actually going to go with San Diego State, and like we've said, there are 3 freshmen on this team, and then you have, including Trevor Cooney, I might say, but like we saw with Fab Mello, while you have some nice pieces on paper, you never really know what you're going to get until you put them out on the basketball court. So you put that with the fact you have some guys stepping into new roles, and I'm just not 100% sold quite yet.
Well, you talk about new guys coming in the game, but Syracuse has guys that they don't need to get any of that rust off on. James Sutherland, a guy who's gotten a lot of experience, and Baimu Cicada coming off the bench as well. So I'm going to have to go with the Syracuse depth here. These are guys who could be starting at any other school and maybe even easily starting here at Syracuse. You can't really go against that kind of experience and skill down low in the paint and around the perimeter for James Sutherland.
I do think they're more talented, although I think they have a better insurance policy.
All right, well, we hit on some of the key matchups right there, but moving along now, time for your X Factors. And before you give us our X Factors, we should have went over this in the production meeting. This game is being played outside, and yet we don't have an X Factor as far as the conditions and the wind. But, Ben, you're first here with your X Factor.
I'm sure they're very comfortable playing outside, but I'm going to go with Trevor Cooney, and we've talked about him a lot, and he's really a big unknown for this team. Again, obviously he's going to be able to shoot, but is that going to struggle being outside a little bit? You never know. And the big area of concern for him, ball handling. He's not necessarily completely explosive off the dribble, and he might not get that many opportunities if he can't completely break down the defense.
Well, John, you mentioned the weather, but that's why they moved the game to Sunday. You don't have to worry about the weather. Expect to be to be a better day, though. I'm going to have to go with the new field general for the Syracuse Orange and Michael Carter-Williams. 6'6" guy, as you mentioned, Ben, but he's got to be able to keep the ball in the Syracuse possession and not get up a lot of turnovers. He's got to win the assist-to-turnover ratio battle, going up against a guy in Chase Tapley, who was the third in stealing in the Mountain West Conference last season. So he's got to be able to step into that field general role where he doesn't have Scoop or Dion Waiters to really back him up, but he's got Trish as well. But I'm going to have to stick with Michael Carter-Williams here. I think he'll be able to excel in this game, keep the ball moving, and keep that fast-paced offense of Syracuse going.
Speaking of fast-paced, as we wrap up here now, for the first of what will be many predictions this year. We didn't get to figure out your electoral numbers earlier in the week. Now, though, prediction between Syracuse and San Diego State to start it off.
Well, I guess I hope I start the year off 1-0, but I'll go Syracuse 77, San Diego State 71. Again, we mentioned this is a very good San Diego State team. I think both teams will be trying to work out the kinks, so it won't be completely polished on either side. A close game for about the first half. Syracuse pulls away thanks to their talent and depth in the second half.
Yeah, you mentioned a little rust coming off on these teams here. I'm going to go 72-63 Syracuse.
Okay.
I think that it's going to be a nice game for Syracuse to be able to control the turnover battle, and they'll also be able to control the paint down low with the rebounding with Akeem Christmas and Dajuan Coleman. And they might even have a good shooting day, even with that win. I think James Sutherland and Trevor Cooney will be able to get it going and be able to light up the sky for this game.
Well, it should be an exciting start to this season. I mean, taking place out in San Diego on a carrier ship, and Citrus TV Sports' Kevin Barry will be there all weekend long providing coverage. You can follow along with him on Twitter at Citrus TV Sports, and don't forget all the coverage on sportsblog.citrustv.net. Well, for Darius Joshua and Ben Peck, I'm John Nolan signing off. Thanks for watching.